Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and in today's video, we're checking out the latest PTS patch notes. This is for the Harrowstorm DLC 5.3.3, and this is the final PTS patch before this DLC goes live. The launch date for PC and Mac, that's going to be February 24th, and then for consoles, Xbox One, PS4, that's going to be March 10th. So this is a little bit different than previous PTS cycles. They did end it slightly early. That's because they're redoing the patcher. They're redoing the download size for performance fixes. So we are ending about a week or two early. So that does mean this is the last round of changes, at least officially. We do know ZOS has thrown in a few day one changes before. That's pretty rare. I don't think we'll be seeing that in this case necessarily, but that is a possibility. So with that said, I'm going to get you up to date on all the changes. We'll talk about them. I'll give you my thoughts. And then at the end of this video, stick around because I'm going to talk about my general thoughts regarding this DLC release cycle. So scrolling through the changes, let's jump right into Necromancer changes. Under the Gravelord skill line, just a fix here for the Boneyard skill. Fix an issue where the synergy from this ability would fail to deal damage if you activated it from the edge of the radius. So that's really just a bug fix. And if you were looking for anything else in regards to the Necromancer, you're not going to find it here. That's literally the only change for Necromancer in this whole patch note. So that is a little bit disappointing. I mean, I was really hoping for that update to the Magicomorph of Stalking Blast Bones. As you know, if you saw my previous video, they did fix that, so it does function very well. It's a nice skill now. The Blast Bones actually works when attacking your target, but in the process, they did break that secondary effect, the stalking part, basically where it chases your target. It's no longer going to deal bonus damage because it's not chasing anymore. It's actually just leaping through the air. So there's really less than a second of chase time. There's no bonus damage. So I was really hoping to see something here as far as maybe a area of effect dot, maybe bonus damage the more targets you hit. Maybe apply the burning status effect. I don't know anything other than nothing. So I don't know. Fingers crossed they'll come across this eventually, but it's a little bit disappointing. So moving down further, we have more combat and gameplay changes for other classes and abilities. Taking a look at the Dragon Knight changes in Ardent Flame, Lava Whip, and the Flame Lash morph. The special attack from this ability, Power Lash, can now also be cast on enemies that are immobilized, and they reverted the cooldown to 3 seconds. So check out the comment here. With the recent changes to Off Balance, we want to ensure this ability stayed up to speed with the original power. Taking a look at reducing the cooldown, you gain an extra lash per Off Balance. This still left them more feeling lackluster in comparison to Molten Whip, I would agree, especially in PvP. So they enabled the Power Lash to fit into that style, stand your ground, lock them down. Okay, so essentially what this means is you can still proc Power Lash with Fossilize even without Off Balance. So if your enemy's on cooldown for Off Balance, you should still be able to proc that Power Lash. With an Immobilize, I'm assuming you could even proc that with like Dark Talons if you wanted to. So yeah, overall, I think that's a good change. I mean, I know a lot of players were looking at dropping Flame Lash completely because of the changes to Off Balance, especially in PvP. And I think this makes Flame Lash a lot more usable. Should be able to get a reliable heal now through, like we said, Fossilize or even Talons now if you want to run Talons. So I do like this change. I think that's a good solution. They're still keeping the Off Balance changes. It sounds like they're not going to change that. They're pretty stuck in that. But reworking the Power Lash proc makes sense to me. I think that's actually a good change. So thumbs up on that one. And then also under Earthen Heart, Helping Hands. This is the passive that restores stamina when you use an Earthen Heart ability. This no longer triggers off stamina costing Earthen Heart abilities like Stone Fist and Stone Giant. So I'm assuming they would have to reduce the cost of that, right? Otherwise it wouldn't work. Yep. Reduce the cost of Stone Fist to down to $22.95. That's a very good cost for a spammable now. And that basically takes into consideration that resource restore from Helping Hands, because I think that was like 950 stamina when you would cast this. So makes sense to me. Let's go ahead and read the developer comment. While the numbers previously balanced themselves out with a higher cost, yep, and the return, it made using the ability early or when low on resources, penalizing. So they simply reduce the cost, and now the passive doesn't work on that ability. Okay, hopefully this works as intended and it doesn't penalize you for casting the Magicka abilities as well. I could see some potential bugs with this, but hopefully it's working like they say it does. Also, in terms of the Stone Giant morph, this morph now applies stagger to enemies hit by the initial cast to help improve the impact of landing the cast time. Okay, so they did change this to basically a two-part ability where you have a channeled cast time up front, and then you can cast the Stone Fist after. So it sounds like the stagger now applies right away, even with that initial channel. So that sounds good. Okay, weapon skills, two-handed and uppercut. Oh man, they just cannot decide what to do with this skill. They cannot. How many times has this skill changed? Let's see what it does now. Enemies hit by this ability that are immune to off balance are now snared by 40% for 2 seconds. What? Okay, like Power Lash, the changes to off balance greatly affected the power of this morph in one-on-one scenarios. Okay, so I'm assuming they're talking about PvP because this doesn't really affect PvE as much. So they're okay with the loss of the stun on the ability since it is a spammable. Remember, they don't like stuns on spammables. But we want to ensure this morph didn't feel like it wasn't adding anything to your gameplay. So we've opted, this is new, we're adding a new function that helps you become more sticky to your target when trying to use it multiple times. Traditionally, we try to avoid CCs without intense requirements on high damage abilities. But similar to puncturing strikes, cast time abilities are far harder to land. So we are more comfortable adding the snare here, in addition to enabling a contextual stun with off balance. But remember, off balance won't be on nearly as much with the new changes. So they added a snare in addition to that. Wow. I did not expect that. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if I like that change for PvP. I mean, we've gone quite a few patches now with a good progression as far as removing snares from PvP, which I think make the game a lot more enjoyable. And now you have this 40% snare on Dizzy Swing. 40% snare is no joke. That's pretty strong for 2 seconds as well. That's really going to lock down somebody into getting hit by multiple Dizzy Swings. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments on this one. I would honestly prefer they don't add any more snares to PvP. To me, that seems backwards. They could have just made, the ability hit slightly harder the second time. If they're immune to off balance. I don't know. I feel like they're just running out of ideas at this point, and they've changed that skill so many times. Anyways, moving on. Soul Trap fixed an issue with respecking. Okay, so that's a bug fix. And now we're on to itemization. So we'll see what they did to Iceheart here as well as other sets. So Armor of Truth got a change here. This set now grants this bonus after dealing damage to an enemy who is off balance, rather than setting that enemy off balance. Okay. The power of this set should overall be closer to its live function when utilized in combat against multiple enemies, while dialing back some of its raw strength in one-on-one combat where it tends to do better than most sets. Okay. Yep. That whole off-balance change really affects a lot. It really does. Critical Riposte. This is one of the new crafted sets from Cyrodiil. They increased the duration to 9 seconds up to 4 seconds, and they increased the cooldown as well. This item set's original values were residual from internal testing. Oh, okay. Where it was much weaker than intended. Since the bonuses it provides are minor debuffs that counteract highly accessible bonuses, we're more comfortable with a higher uptime. Okay, I guess that's fine. Draugr's Rest, fix an issue, so just a bug fix here. And then Draugr Grip. This is the new damage over time set. I do like this set. I think this is one of the better sets that they actually created in this DLC. So this basically was giving you amped damage for your damage over time effects, but it was a little weird to proc it. I think it had like a 10% proc chance, which was really low. And you could also only proc it with instant damage, not with damage over time. So it was like really weird. It would have been difficult to proc. And what they did, I really like here. I think this is a great change. good job. They removed the proc chance entirely. I think that makes a lot of sense because it's supposed to be a dot-focused set, and you couldn't proc it with dots. It didn't make sense at all. And so now you're just going to be able to proc it off cooldown. It looks like they also increased the damage here on that proc up to 617, up from 530. They did increase the cooldown though to 9 seconds, up from 6 seconds. Let's go ahead and read the comment here. This set's design is targeted towards helping builds focus on damage over time, get more mileage out of their attacks, but the original proc chance of direct damage made it difficult. Yep, that's exactly what we said. On classes that didn't have direct damage abilities, yep, it was just a weird proc chance. So thumbs up for me on this one. I think this is a good change. I definitely want to try this on sub builds, maybe like a Necromancer build, for example, or a Dragon Knight. That could be quite strong. And moving on to Essence Thief, this set now displays a beam of light visible to the wearer when the sigil spawns in. Help you find that, apparently. And then Iceheart. So just to recap on what's happened here, they did reduce the damage shield significantly. They also gave this set a cooldown, a 12-second cooldown, which absolutely ruined the set, in my opinion. Absolutely terrible change that shows a limited understanding of how defensive sets work in the game. I mean, why would you want a defensive set that's only up half the time? It doesn't make sense. So the developers got a lot of feedback on this one, I think rightfully so. And they did respond. They did make some changes here. So first change is they reduced the shield size even further. The shield size is now 5,000, down from 650. And remember, the original shield size was 8,600. So going from 8,600 down to 5,000, huge nerf in shield size. Now, the one positive change in how they responded to this is they did reduce the cooldown back to 6 seconds, down from 12. So I will give them some minor props for that because it shows that they do understand that it's a defensive set. You need access to your defenses as much as possible, especially in PvE. You just can't tell the enemies, the mobs attacking you, hey, hang on, can you wait 6 seconds while my damage shield recharges? No, you can't do that. So they did reduce the cooldown time back to the 6 seconds. Let's see what they said here for the developer comments. Based on much feedback of this set, we decided to have the baseline function meet the same standards as Mother Sionet. That's another 5k damage shield set. That lasts up to 6 seconds with a 6-second cooldown. So those basically have the same shield size and the same cooldown now. With Iceheart's auxiliary function being focused on preserving the shield to maximize its damage potential, and Sionet around rushing in boldly to break the shield and gain as much magicka as possible, there's a much better parity between the two sets that helps them both meet our overall item set power standards, as well as feel different from an engagement point. The logic here is probably what throws me the most. I mean, so we have this new set, this Mother Sionet set, which is a damage shield monster helm. Of course, we already had one of those with the Iceheart set. This, to proc the Mother Sionet set, you need to have a channeled ability. So it's going to be good, I mean, for a class like Templar, who you have Puncturing Sweeps, which is already a channel. I mean, it'll be good on Magicka Sorcerer because you can have a Lightning Staff heavy attack that's also channeled to proc that. I mean, even in terms of some stamina builds, Dizzy Swing is a channel, Rapid Strikes is a channel, so you could conceivably, you know, proc this on a stamina build as well. But the whole idea here of boldly rushing in to break the shield as soon as possible just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. Why would you want a damage shield to break quickly? I mean, that's not what we want. We want a larger shield size to stay and absorb as much damage as possible. And in this description of Iceheart, like the auxiliary function is focused on preserving the shield. That's just that's the function of any damage shield. But anyways, so we have a new damage shield standard, you know, regardless of what you think about how it came about. The new damage shield standard is now 5,000. Of course, there are still item sets in the game which provide higher damage shields than this. I don't want to mention them because I don't want those to get nerfed too. You know, the whole purpose of this new set was just weird. Like, we don't need another damage shield set. And then two, they said they wanted, in the first patch where they introduced this, they wanted to add some protection for builds that are doing channeled attacks. But there's already a set that does that. There's another set in the game that gives you, I don't even want to say what it is, but there's another set that already does that. It's not a damage shield, it does something else, and it does it better than this. I don't know. It is what it is. I am happy that they at least brought the cooldown back to 6 seconds. I think it's usable. You know, bottom line, I think it's still usable. When you consider things like champion points, you know, you can have a 25% bonus to this, so it'll get up to like 6,250, which is respectable. I mean, considering too, it's only from a 2-piece set. I still will use it. I'll also look potentially at using this set on some builds if they have channeled attacks. But overall, just the mindset and really the lack of creativity on this new monster set is what gets me. It's almost like they don't know what sets are already in the game. Anyways, moving on to Jolting Arms. Slightly redesigned this set to operate more efficiently on server, so that has to do with the bash and the block changes, I'm assuming. So they reduced the amount of armor gained. Okay, that's a pretty big nerf to that set if you used it. The bonus damage now adds a flat 60-86 damage to your bash attacks rather than a separate proc. Okay. So it's a little bit more bash damage there. And they updated the tooltip. Falcon Scoria fixed an issue where it could proc multiple times. And the Zon monster set. This could be a nerf potentially. So the ramping bonus damage now has a maximum of 5 stacks to match its duration. Wow, to prevent it becoming wildly powerful when used in conjunction with duration extension bonuses like Elfbane. Wow, wow, wow. So if you were planning, or if you already had an Elfbane and Zan build, then so much for that. It's not going to work anymore. It's now capped at 5 stacks. So in terms of skill updates and item set changes, that's really it. Those are the major changes. And that's going to be all there is until this DLC releases in a couple weeks. So what are my thoughts overall on this patch and then this whole cycle of patches? You know, I think overall this patch started really strong. I was really positive about it initially because they did some things that we asked for a long time. A lot of bug fixes, not a lot of skill changes, which was actually good. They were staying back from a lot of those crazy class changes that we saw last year, which was also very positive. You know, I was a big fan of the Necromancer changes to Blast Bones and the corpse targeting. Those were awesome changes. So week 1, I was super psyched about this. But then after that, it was really kind of disappointing. Like I said in the beginning, no update to the Magicomorph of Blastbone still, after many weeks of us mentioning it on the forums. That still needs a bonus effect. And then the whole thing with Iceheart versus the Mother Seeing It set, like I said earlier, it feels like they don't know what sets are in the game already. Because that monster set, the new one, just should have been something else. This shouldn't have been an issue to begin with. They should have done something more creative, more original with that set, instead of getting into this whole thing with damage shield standard sizes and stuff, which was never an issue before. Yeah, it's just disappointing. I think at this point it shows like a lack of creativity. Again, not really understanding what sets are already in the game at this point. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. Now, I would love to hear what you think of these changes in the comments section below. Let us know what you think about the Iceheart changes, about the Zon changes. You know, that Dizzy Swing change was a huge change. Lots of changes here in the final week. So let us know what you think of those in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed the discussion today, don't forget to crush that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel for future ESO updates, guides, and build videos. I am working on a new hybrid build that hopefully I'll have up on the channel later this week. It's going to be a hybrid sorcerer build. I am looking forward to showing that to you guys. So make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much again for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you around in the next video.